Hello, friends. If you receive the state pension in the United Kingdom, and especially if you also have a small workplace pension, some savings interest, or any other income alongside it, this week brought 4 pieces of news you need to hear, because most people have not. Not from the television, not from their bank, not from the Department for Work and Pensions. The one that concerns the most people starts with a question that keeps appearing in the comments. If the state pension just went up under the triple lock, why do some people end up no better off, and in some cases, paying more tax than before? The answer is not a conspiracy. It is a collision between two things happening at the same time. The state pension rising every April and the income tax threshold frozen since April 2021. Understanding exactly how those two things interact is the most useful thing this video can give you, because the people who get it wrong find an unexpected letter through their door from HMRC with no warning. Quick context before we continue. This video is made for people in the United Kingdom who receive the state pension or are approaching the age of claiming and want to understand how recent changes affect their income. Everything shared today comes from official sources: the Department for Work and Pensions HMRC, the UK government's official website, and the Institute for Fiscal Studies, and each source will be named as we go. This is educational content only, not personalized financial, tax, or legal advice. And nothing here is a promise that you will receive any specific sum of money. Before any major financial decision, speak to a qualified professional who knows your circumstances. Have you received a simple assessment letter from HMRC in the last year? Drop a yes or no in the comments. I want to know how many of you this has already hit. If you are not yet subscribed, please do that now and turn on the bell. 4 pieces of news this week. Let us start with the one already landing in people's letterboxes. The Department for Work and Pensions has confirmed the full new state pension for 2026 to 2027 at £241.30 a week, £12,547.60 a year. The personal allowance, the amount you can receive before owing income tax, is frozen at £12,570. HMRC and the House of Commons Library confirm that freeze runs until at least April 2031. The gap between those two figures is £22.40. Pause this and write that down. State pension, £12,547.60. Personal allowance, £12,570 gap, £22.40. That gap matters because the state pension is paid without any tax deducted at source. If you have a workplace or private pension alongside your state pension, HMRC usually adjusts your tax code on that private pension to collect the tax owed on both sources combined, which is why some people find their private pension payment looking lower after April. If you have no private pension and no PAYE income, and your total income pushes you above the personal allowance, HMRC can issue a simple assessment, a bill through the door. According to Freedom of Information figures obtained from HMRC, 1.32 million simple assessment letters were issued in the 2023 to 2024 tax year, up 74% from the year before, the highest number ever recorded. Those bills arrived as a complete surprise to people who had no idea they owed anything. And here is the correction most coverage of this topic misses. Chancellor Rachel Reeves confirmed in the autumn 2024 budget that from April 2027, pensioners whose only income is the full new state pension will be exempt from filing a return or paying income tax. The mechanics are still being confirmed by HMRC, but if the state pension is your only income, the government has committed to relieving you of this obligation from 2027 onward. Those this continues to affect through 2031 are anyone with other income alongside their pension. If a simple assessment letter arrives, do not ignore it. The deadline to pay or challenge the figure is the 31st of January, following the end of the relevant tax year. Note that deadline. Wait until we get to the next piece of news. There is a backdating window the pension service will not mention unless you ask specifically. The second piece of news concerns the state pension age transition already underway. As of April 2026, the state pension age began its legislated rise from 66 to 67, running through to March 2028. The UK government's official website sets out exactly who is affected and when. If you were born before the 6th of April 1960, your state pension age is 66, and you have already reached it. If you were born between the 6th of April 1960 and the 5th of March 1961, your state pension age falls in a graduated band. One additional month of waiting for each monthly birth cohort in that window. Your pension age is not 66 and it is not 67. It sits somewhere between them, and the exact month matters. If you were born after the 6th of March 1961, your state pension age is exactly 67. Pause this and note which group applies to you. At what point did you find out your exact state pension age? From the DWP invitation letter or by looking it up yourself? Tell me in the comments. The Department for Work and Pensions sends an invitation letter approximately 4 months before your state pension age. If it has already arrived and you have not acted on it, contact the Pension Service. Details are on the UK government's official website. And when you do ask specifically about backdating, the DWP allows you to backdate a state pension claim by up to 12 months. If you have passed your state pension age without claiming, you may receive up to 12 months of payments as a lump sum. The DWP will not volunteer this. You have to ask. The window is exactly 12 months from your state pension age date after that. Those payments cannot be recovered. Before we get to the final 2 pieces of news, let me share a situation that shows what happens when this tax picture is not fully understood. Dorothy is, in her early 70s, an illustrative composite, drawn from a real pattern with identifying details changed. She retired as a council administrator in the East Midlands on the full new state pension, with a small workplace pension of around £280 a month. When her state pension rose this April, she expected her overall income to increase. Instead, her workplace pension payment looked lower. She spent weeks assuming her provider had made an error. What had actually happened was straightforward. HMRC had adjusted her tax code on the workplace pension to collect the tax owed on both sources combined. Once explained, she understood it immediately, but no one had ever told her to expect it. Knowing that the state pension is paid gross, and that HMRC collects through a separate income stream, knowing that in advance is what saves months of confusion. The triple lock forecast for 2027 has shifted upward, and this is the 3rd piece of news. The triple lock is the government's commitment that the state pension rises each April by whichever is highest of inflation measured in September. Average wage growth for May to July, or 2.5%. The Department for Work and Pensions confirms the 2026 increase was 4.8%, driven by earnings growth. The official figures for 2027 will not be complete until October. Current projections suggest a meaningful increase remains likely, given the energy, price, environment, and earnings growth. But here is the catch most coverage leaves out. A bigger triple lock increase means inflation is running higher. The increase in April 2027 compensates for the cost of living measured the previous September. If prices keep rising through winter and into 2027, the real terms gain from your larger pension may be smaller than the headline suggests. A larger increase is better than a smaller one, but it does not mean the cost of living pressure has been resolved. And now the final piece of news, and the one generating the most unnecessary alarm. The Institute for Fiscal Studies has published analysis concluding that the triple lock has cost approximately 3 times more than originally forecast when introduced in 2011. The Office for Budget Responsibility estimates the triple lock alone will push up state pension spending by around 1.6 percentage points of national income over the next 50 years. That has reignited a debate in Westminster about whether the formula needs to be modified. Here's what that means and what it does not. The triple lock is not being abolished. The current government made an explicit manifesto commitment to maintain it for this Parliament. And every major party has made the same commitment. What the Institute for Fiscal Studies has put pressure on is the question of how any future government might fund it long term, and whether the formula might be adjusted after the next election. The IFS has proposed a smoothed earnings link, the pension rising in line with a long-term target, rather than whichever of 3 measures peaks highest in a given year. That would reduce the volatility without abolishing the protection. The distinction to hold on to is between modification and abolition. Modification is being discussed. Abolition is not the current policy of any major party. But modification over time could reduce the value of future increases compared to the current formula. Staying informed as that debate develops matters for anyone whose income depends significantly on the annual state pension increase. On the triple lock, do you believe it will still be there in the same form in 10 years? Honest answers in the comments. Back to where we started. If the state pension went up, why do some people end up no better off or paying more in tax? The state pension rises every April. The personal allowance has been frozen since 2021 and stays frozen until 2031. As that gap closes, more income becomes taxable. The state pension is paid gross. So Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs either adjusts a tax code or sends a simple assessment letter. If the state pension is your only income, the government has committed to relieving you from this from 2027 onward. If you have any other income, this is your situation now. And understanding it clearly is better than being surprised. Here is the full picture. The Department for Work and Pensions confirms the full new state pension at £12,547, $60 a year. HMRC's personal allowance is frozen at $12,570 until 2031. 1.32 million simple assessment letters were sent last year, up 74% if one arrives. The deadline is the 31st of January. Check your exact state pension age on the UK government's official website if you were born between April 1960 and March 1961. Ask the Pension Service about backdating if your invitation letter has arrived. The triple lock forecast points toward a meaningful increase for 2027. But the real terms gain depends on where inflation goes. And the debate the Institute for Fiscal Studies is driving concerns modifying the formula, not abolishing the triple lock. If you have a parent, a sibling, or a friend on the state pension who has never heard the phrase simple assessment, please share this video with them now. Most people will not find this information until the letter has already arrived. If anything today raised a question about your tax code or whether you might qualify for pension credit on top of what you already receive. That is exactly what the next video covers. I will see you in the next one.